Welcome, everybody, to the Vibrant Podcast, where we're calling it the Inspiration Edition because we're basically shamelessly crushing on our favorite wedding and portrait photographers.
Yeah, we just love their work so much, and we think more people should know about them.
All the peoples.
All the
All the
peoples.
peoples. I'm Michael.
I'm Michelle. And today we're going to feature Sam Hurd.
Sam.
Michael,
Yes.
tell us why.
Sam, I'm pretty sure you're going to be watching this, but, you know, I can't.
What if he doesn't, though? You'll be so embarrassed.
I'm sure he
Oh
will.
my
It's like if Sam has shot my
No,
family.
we're going to DM him right now.
Yeah, probably. Like
He's sliding in. Let's go.
we talk every now and again. Me and my family hired him for our family portraits one time because we were already married, so I couldn't hire him to be our wedding photographer. So I have crushed on Sam and his work for a very long time.
And you emulated him in a lot of ways,
And,
too.
you know, probably year 3, 4 of my career in wedding photography, you could have called me a Sam clone.
Yeah. I remember scrolling through Instagram specifically and thinking it was your work. And I was like, wait, that's Sam. And then vice versa. It has
Right.
happened on multiple occasions.
Right.
So this is going to be a really cool one because you've just reflected a lot of his style in so many ways. And he is quite the inspiration.
He's so inspirational. And I think the thing I love about Sam is he has pushed the industry in directions that are unconventional, I think.
100%.
So it's like,
yeah.
it's not just like, you know, oh, somebody pulled off a crazy, you know, it's hard to describe.
It's not just the external lighting where you're like, wow, that doesn't look natural, because he
Right.
will literally take natural light
Yeah.
and turn it into something that doesn't look
Right.
of the earth.
It's like, okay, cool. You can light up a subject with a flash, or you can take a picture where the groom is in the daytime and the bride is in the nighttime, and it's a multi-exposure done entirely in camera.
That's right. I forgot that's like his thing.
It's one of the
I
things
can't
that he
wait.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's jump right in.
Let's jump right in. So here's Sam's website.
Well, so wait, let's tell our viewers, since this is probably the first one that
Yep.
we're showing here,
Yep.
what the concept is. We're going to go through their websites.
Yeah.
We're going to look at all their work. We're going
Mm-hmm.
to dissect it. We're going to go through maybe a few technical things that we see, things that stand out. Also, probably some more background on why we choose these photographers.
Yes. So, yeah. So it's like since we have yet to kind of start a serious podcast here, and this is kind of our first foray into the world of that, and like as photographers, it's really hard to go into it not feeling like you're adding to the noise of a bunch of, you know, people talking about the same thing over and over.
Right.
And I wanted to do something unique. And so it's like when I texted you, I'm like, what if we spend time talking about other photographers and drawing attention to other people in the industry? I think in the process of not only just kind of like allowing other people to find these awesome people, it will give us an opportunity to kind of get inspired and think outside of the boxes, because it's like as you bring people who we think about, I bring people who I think about, and we look at the different works. I'm hoping it'll inspire us when we're actually on our weddings individually and together. We can be like, oh my gosh, we should try that one idea.
Right. And it's I always look through some of my favorite photographers before I go to a wedding.
Yep.
And I'll just get inspired, be like, I want to try to make something similar to this, or I want to try this technique. So you're right. Doing this is definitely going to give us a little sparkle and reawaken us. And we hope it does the same thing for other people, other photographers out there. And hey, if you're looking for a wedding photographer too, maybe these people are in your area and you can book them.
Right. Yeah. So actually,
community over competition.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. And speaking to that, Sam is in the Maryland, DC area.
Perfect.
And so that's an awesome. I'm actually.
Oh, well, so is one of the other ones that I chose. So
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Oh,
Wait,
that's
I didn't
fantastic.
realize they were close.
Really?
That'll be fun. Maybe they know each other.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, Sam
Likely.
is all over the industry.
Well, I won't
very
drop
well
any other
known.
names because I don't want to give away for
All
our
the
future.
people who we're going to be finding, who we're going to
uh-huh.
be looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I just wanted to jump into his portfolio section.
Oh, can we just start there?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. That is just.
Oh, back up to the previous one here.
No.
Oh, go to the next. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is from his planetarium wedding.
Okay.
I know this because I'm intimately acquainted with his work because I've been following for so long.
This is next level.
I
Because you
know.
wouldn't think that this is likely in camera then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did this in camera. It's like he for a long time he was kind of like touting, like rightfully so, like, hey, I'm doing all of this in camera. It's a big thing. He's done things that are also outside of camera, which I think are phenomenal. But it's like in the vein of this. I'm pretty sure.
Knowing that this is the planetarium, it's pretty likely that he did this in camera. It's probably a double exposure.
Yeah.
And then obviously the couple is silhouetted, and I mean it's crisply silhouetted. So
I'm trying to think. Like, I guess he just did a photo of the night sky.
uh-huh.
I'm wondering which one he did first. And I'm also wondering because I'm not as that good at double exposures. I've done a handful of them,
Mhm.
but like if he's using subtractive or additive mode to get like
Mm.
the silhouettes,
Right.
because I'm usually doing it with light and using
Right.
highlights to kind of get rid of things. Um,
But he could have done the opposite here.
yeah, and
W
so
which I actually feel like could be the case,
yeah,
which
that's
makes me, again, like, spark the fire, like, this is where I wanna go. Actually, I've been talking to you about wanting to add more of those double exposures into
yeah.
my daily life here, so
Have you gotten to practice with much of them at
don't
all?
call me out.
I don't like I should.
I should,
It,
yeah, it's like one of those things, like, I should do things daily,
it
like
was
drink a gallon of water, hold on, break.
right. Well, I feel like multiple exposures were a thing that I was actively trying to make sure I could do just one every wedding, and I did
Yeah,
that for like 10 weddings, and then it's like
that's pretty solid.
it's so hard to like think in that vein, and it's like there's other things I can pull out of my pocket quicker, so I started, I
And I
just
think that's what it is too. I don't have enough practice to be able to execute it
yeah,
quickly
right,
where it's not interruptive.
right,
So that's why I need to practice off a shoot. Like I can't jump into somebody's wedding where we
yeah,
have like 30 minutes for all of our
right,
portraits and
exactly.
be like, let me try this really technically challenging thing
Yes,
right now.
right.
Speaking of technically challenging, let's look at the
This
screen because I don't even understand how this
freaking
happens.
image, dude. I remember when he posted this photo on Instagram, but it
Was
was
this like the first one that he did with this style?
I as far as I can tell, I think yes, because he posted a photo of the back of his camera, and I think I
So he
was
did
at a
this in
wedding.
camera.
He did this in
I
camera.
don't
I
understand.
think I was physically
Somebody
at a
help.
wedding. Yeah. Um, and but what gets me is like the dress of the bride crosses over into the day and it
I
like
don't get
works
it.
and the shoulders kind of cross over. This is a whole nother level. I just like because
Could he be touching it up in Photoshop though?
I'm sure he could have. I don't
Yeah.
know if he did because future ones that he's done have not been this clean,
Oh, interesting. So
you
he
know?
might have done that just to make it have the
Yeah.
appearance of being a little smoother, which I really think elevates the image. So if he did touch it up in Photoshop, I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna call that photoshopped.
Right. And
I
I'm not trying
wouldn't.
to say
Yeah.
his other ones aren't clean. I'm just saying this one is on another transcendent level in like
Mhm.
how the bride and groom are interacting with each other.
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's true. I mean, they could have been just very perfectly aligned. I
right.
mean, so what do you happen to know what technique he does for this? Is it a double exposure?
Yeah, it's funny because this is gonna feel like a total like plug for his Patreon and whatnot. But
Yeah.
it's like I like on his Patreon because I've also been Sam, I follow your Patreon, subscribe to
Hey.
your Patreon for I was a first time subscriber or whatever. When he started it, I started on there. But he
Yeah.
broke this down and I think Sam, I'm pretty sure you used the passport, just something hard line like F
Oh, to,
uh,
like, break the screen in
to
half so
break
it
the screen in
basically
half.
becomes black. I see.
Right.
Okay, I
And
get
then
it.
I
And then
guess
you do it on the reverse.
right. I'm
Yeah,
guessing he
yeah.
put a tripod somewhere. It's just very low to the ground. So I'm wondering if he
Mm.
marked the spot somewhere to put the camera on the ground
So it's
because
exactly the same spot too.
right, because the grass coming up is kind of obscure. But it couldn't be like F11. So I'm wondering how he got the hard line because the grass just looks like it doesn't look like F11 grass, if that makes sense.
I
Um,
mean, it depends on what lens he's using. It's possible.
I'm gonna put my money on a 24 millimeter.
You think so?
I'm putting my money on that. And I'm pretty sure
You think this is still 24?
I think this is a 24 millimeter. If I know Sam, it's like
Right.
I'm just guessing. I don't want to spend too much time on this image,
Okay,
but it is
right, because we do
transcendental.
still wanna go through.
Go
So
through a lot
I
of
guess,
stuff.
if you're really curious, subscribe to his Patreon,
Subscribe to his Patreon.
and you can really dive deep into
Right.
the technical aspects of
None of
that.
the photographers we end up talking in this series are paying us. It's
Yeah,
like
this is not sponsored
this
by
is just us
anybody.
loving people doing awesome things. Is basically
Maybe
what it
we
is.
can get sponsored in the future.
Right. um,
Apple Canon.
right. Apple can yes. Please pay us money, Canon or Apple. Yes.
There you
All of them.
go. All right.
But this one I also happen to know the reason he put in his portfolio is to kind of make sure that the clients who are looking for him are open to the idea of laying on the ground.
Interesting.
Yeah, as far as I can tell. But I love the fact that he incorporated a reflection.
I
Um,
remember, I think, I'm trying to remember specifically who said this to me. And if it comes to me later, I will throw it out there. But don't ask your clients, hey, are you willing? Just tell them, I have this really fantastic idea. Can you please lay right here? Or just like literally tell them what to
and
do.
then if they say no, then it's like
Then
you
right,
should
and then, I mean, they'll be so against it that you're
right.
like, "Okay, never mind," but you can give them a little kinda, like, nudge, like, "I promise it's
Yeah.
worth it," but never ask them. Just tell them. If you really have an inspiration, just do it, but, I mean,
Right.
I have made brides and grooms lay on the ground,
Yeah, same.
for sure.
And well, I mean, they're also in a hotel. Like
Right,
that's clearly a
so
hotel carpet.
mhm,
So
mhm.
it's not like hey, lay in the questionable grass, it's wet. but,
Yeah.
it's not one of
Go lay
those.
in the literal mud
In the
over there.
literal
It
mud.
will be worth it. Like that one that you see all the time on Instagram
Yeah.
where he's like the photographer's like out in this muddy beach and he
Oh,
picks up the
no.
bride and then they fall over. Have you not seen
I've
that?
not seen that
There's
one.
like a whole video, like an actual video caught, and like you could just see the bride is mortified.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I guess the photos are worth it.
Yeah, that's one of those to say. It's always funny. Like we both get sent all of our friends tag us in the does your photographer do this? There's the photographer dancing around and doing all the things.
100%.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I've seen that
That's
meme 1,000
absolute.
times.
So many people send that one to me because they've
Right.
literally seen me do that. And that's me. I'm like a little monkey, like happy monkey jumping around. So, and for those who don't know, I'm 4'11. So
Yeah,
I can
she's
fit in small
tiny.
spaces.
There was a wedding we did together straight up, and it's like she was taking a photo of the bride and groom, and there was like this overhang of these curtains or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, I want to frame with the curtains or whatever." And we're like, "Okay." And we were outside, there was nothing around, so I'm gonna put you on my shoulders, like just
Oh
lifted you
my
up. I
gosh.
lifted you
Right.
up all the way, and then you got to frame them in the thing.
No hesitation either. You just were like, scoop. And I'm like, boo,
Well, because we
okay.
were like when one of those situations where the bride and groom are like,
They're
away.
ready to go.
Yeah, they're
Right.
ready to go. And we want to knock this out real quick, and this is the last photo that we're doing
Right.
from
We're
the
not going
time.
to go grab a ladder right now.
Right.
Michael was the ladder.
I was the
Yeah.
ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Because I don't think it would have really worked the other way around. Although I'm very strong, I could likely pick you up, but
Yeah, I think
more
you
leverage
could.
on your ends.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't do CrossFit like you do, so that's.
Wait, how much do you weigh?
I weigh 220.
All right,
I'm
my
on.
max back squat. You ready for this? 235.
So you could probably do
I
it.
can squat you.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
go.
the heaviest I've been in a long time.
Oh,
But
I called you out now.
yeah, you did. You did.
Take a sip. Tea time.
Dang it.
I wish it was tequila.
Right.
Woo!
But
Shots.
moving on to more of Sam's work, it's really like we're breaking down. It's funny because feels like it's turning into a breakdown of their photos and it less.
Which is not the idea, but like I'm not hating on it. I
Right.
kind of like that.
I
And
don't know what he did here.
so I mean I'm seeing I've used a similar technique, but this is so much more executed on a better level because he's really got that groom here in the foreground and then the bride obviously in the back with like very well lit from a very directional light. So
Yeah, well, I initially thought this yellow streak was part of the groom's outfit because it looks like an Indian couple, and
I
so
feel
they're
like it's probably more like something in the foreground, like a plant or something.
either that because this one over here too, but the way it kind of comes up on his shoulder, like past his shoulder,
Makes you think it's something he's wearing.
I'm starting to think it's another double exposure.
Ooh, interesting. I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's possible.
We are breaking things down,
Yes,
and
we
it's like, and
are.
it's causing us to not go through.
Oof.
Like this one needs no breakdown.
No breakdown. It just stands alone as it for itself. I love that it's creatively cropped on the one side for the bride. You have the full face of the groom, and it's just still so effective because you get both parties
Mhm.
creatively framed. It's a beautiful photo.
Well, face crops are a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's like I didn't realize how hard they were to do until you're actually trying to put,
Mhm.
somebody's face halfway. Because do you go straight down the nose?
And what if you're like me and my nose goes like to the one side?
Well, it's like
Don't do this for my wedding.
like if you see this one right here, like her nose is like a little, like it's farther over a little bit, and I find that that's the better way to do it.
For sure. Yeah.
But it's like you don't know until you're actually trying to do that.
Well, and I think the face shape of the person too probably may or may not call for it.
Contributes to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So this might have been just an on the whim idea, but it's again executed beautifully. I love it. I even love that the groom has glasses.
Me too.
It's just it makes it more relatable in a
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
you know?
It's a vibe.
It is a
And
vibe.
because I'm way too familiar with Sam's work, I happen to know that
Shocker.
he shot all of this in a house and it was raining outside and it was a very
Mm.
small wedding. They didn't want to go out. So he was able to pull super creativity in his posing in a very small environment. And that's a really big thing that I love about his work that's inspired me to just be able to create in any environment.
That's awesome.
Um,
Yeah, solid point
generally.
there. I love that you know that actually.
Yeah, I know. Sam, I'm sorry.
I think you have a stage 5 clinger.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I feel like I'm not the only one. I feel like other people recognize how brilliant Sam is. But
Mm. I mean, I do.
yeah,
I see it.
yeah, it's
But I'm still gonna go ahead and just safely say stage 5 clinger.
yeah. Okay, that's
It's
fine.
fine.
I'll
It's
accept that.
fine.
I'll put that on.
I don't think he's gonna be mad about it.
I wonder. I've thought about this image and trying to figure out which lens it is.
I was just having the thought. I wasn't sure if you're gonna keep scrolling, but yeah, I don't know.
I'm guessing.
85.
I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say 51.2 Canon
Okay.
RF.
That's still a solid guess. I think it could be either.
Well, because like when I'm working with the flare on my 51.2, like I think it has a very unique kind of flaring that is very like the fact that we can see their faces like perfectly well, like there's enough contrast, there's enough detail, and he might have touched it up, but it's like with the flare kind of streaking over them so
Mm.
much, it's kind of surprising that they're so easy to see.
Yeah, I agree, but I actually shoot with that nifty 50 1.8.
8 1.8,
What?
that has very unique flaring.
And but I it makes me not wanna get rid of it.
I feel like nobody talks about how great the flare on that lens
I'm
is.
sorry, but, like, it's one of my go-tos. Like, I know you do your little ring of fire, but I
Yeah.
literally throw on my nifty 50 that is quite literally probably 9 years old or more,
Yeah.
and it's got sand stuck up in there,
Yeah.
but, like, I love it, and I use it at a very specific time
Well, it
and get a very specific photo with it, and it's very similar to this, so I think you could be right.
well, there's a characteristic about like your work and like your flaring and like the stuff that you do that is uniquely like Michelle Brin.
True.
And I think that is due to the fact that you use the 51.8
Yeah,
for some of those portraits. Because
yeah.
I never considered like, oh, I want to choose this lens just for the flaring.
That's the only time I
Yeah.
use it.
And it's not the RF because the RF even interacts differently, but it's
Yeah,
the EF one that you have.
yeah,
And
uh-huh.
it is unique. And I put it on there. I'm like, I
I
kind of
kinda don't
like
hate
it.
it
I
right
kind of
now.
like it. Yeah, it's
With
crazy.
sand and all, like, when you try to, like, focus, it's like,
Right.
"Don't judge, okay?"
Right.
But it's really old, so I
This is
could get a new one, but I feel like it wouldn't have the same effect. Anyway.
yeah.
Oh,
Though
man,
I was gonna
this
say, speaking of flares,
wow.
and it looks like they're in the rain.
They are definitely in the rain, and you can even see, like, some of the speckles that have likely either hit the lens itself
Yep.
or they're just so close that they're giving this beautiful wow.
Yeah, it's
And then
something
they're so crispy down
they're
there.
so crispy.
How?
It's I'm pretty sure it's whatever 24 he's
It's the
using.
air fryer.
But that's the other thing, like, Sam, I'm impressed is how you're able to do so many, like, lens obstructing techniques that keep the couple so crisp,
Right.
like, in so many contexts.
Yes.
It's really impressive, and this is
Does
one
he
of
use a lot of external flash and strobing or
I
y
as far as I know, I don't wanna speak for Sam, but the fact that I
Sam, where
follow
you
along.
at?
Right. It's, as the thing he uses the most is just, over the shoulder bounce flash, whenever he does use flash, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna wager to say he's not using flash because of where the light source is here, the way it's hitting them, but also if he's using the 24 getting low and angling up.
Are we
Um,
gonna assume these are, like, stage lights outside? Or, like, I'm
they could be
really
street lights, they could be, like,
curious.
venue outdoor lights.
Right.
I like the fact that one is yellow and the other 2 are kinda magenta.
Mhm. But that
Um,
could also be, like, an editing there where you might have just, like, thrown, like, a radial
they could.
filter or something, but
That is absolutely a thing that he does.
yeah, I've noticed that too, and I think that to me, that's what that looks like. He's kinda got a radial one up in the top left with
Yeah.
some warmth, and then on the top right looks magenta, and maybe even in the center slightly green. Like, I feel like he took, like, 3
What I'm trying
circles.
to figure out is where the blue light at the bottom is coming from.
Again, I think he's this is mostly post process.
Well, but there's light sources and they're equidistant on either side of the
No, I
couple.
agree. I think they're light sources, but I don't think that they were blue lights. I think that part is post
Shoot, that
process.
creative, like, well, you'll have to let us
Let
know.
us know, Sam, who's right.
See, and then
Ah,
stuff like this, it's just so simple,
so simple.
and it's
And
like,
you see it done in the reverse a lot too, where
uh-huh.
the groom isn't always the focus. So it's really great to see what a cute couple they
Also, their
are.
posing is it's that's the other thing
He's
that
got
gets
this
me.
like innocent kind of like I love you look, and then
Mhm.
she's just like rocking this like
Yeah.
she still has like the innocence in her facial expression, but then it's like very Vogue.
Uh-huh.
Like I just love the combination of their vibe. And I don't know if Sam felt that vibe going, but like I feel it very much in this image.
Well, that's the thing that gets me is, like, as technical as he is, his whether it's his ability to get the posing or, like,
The
the
interactions.
interaction or, like, later him being choosy, it's really probably all of it
Yeah,
in
for
his,
sure. I mean, we
it
can relate to that. It
for sure.
yeah,
In his experience, it's like being able to just fluidly moving in and out of these moments without the couple even realizing we're getting
right.
what we want in the most candid sense. But it's like if you I've like I remember probably year 5 or 6, like my posing was my weakest thing, but I didn't know until I had the eyes to look and pay attention to the posing.
Sure.
And then it's like, and then Sam, I looked through all of his body of work and his posing has been so consistently brilliant.
Hmm.
It's like full of nuance and full of like what feels authentic, and was not the hardest thing for me to get. I just didn't even have the eyes to see it until like
Sure.
halfway through like where I am now, just like thinking like, oh, that's actually my priority. And that's almost one of the biggest defining characteristics of a photographer is how good they are with posing.
Mm.
And I wasn't thinking that. I was just like lights and technical things.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, posing is so
I mean, it's almost half the battle for a wedding, at least when
yeah,
it comes to portraits, because that's primarily what you're showcasing on your
yeah.
website, on your portfolio, on your social media. most of the time we show the posed portraits of the bride and groom.
Mhm.
So that's typically what people look for.
Mhm.
Obviously the rest of the day. That's the thing is like when people look at portfolios, that's why it's so important. Like for us, I mean, we can get into us a little bit, I guess, but we always send a full gallery because I think
Yeah.
people often look through a portfolio that's like, okay, well, this is only 20 minutes of your wedding day.
Right, and it's the most curated of every like, pick and choose of everything, so it's
Sure.
like, if you can see our whole process from start to finish,
Hmm.
it's like, I like the transparency so that they can make a decision of like, "Oh, this person's, like, 100% game on the whole time,"
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's not just for the 30 minutes out of the day when they're making the hero shots, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
I love the hero shots,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like it's
Guilty.
right.
Sip time.
Yeah, right. And yeah, this is one of the images, again, brilliant reflection and posing that complements the daytime light, you
Are
know?
they like at on a high building or something?
It looks like that because you see the skyline over
Yeah, it
here.
almost looks like a city
It's just a
skyline. Wondering
solid
where it
solid
is.
image. I know.
Ah, this one's
I
giving
know.
me feels.
I
You know, I am a huge fan of pocket lights
Yep.
found wherever, and I absolutely love utilizing those. So I didn't even know this was an option on Sam's website, but I am
Oh,
obsessed.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
I feel like you're even better at it than I am in practice. It's like coming
finding pockets.
Yeah, finding the pockets like this. I
Love
think the thing I
pockets.
love about this is, like,
I
I think it's 24 millimeters. Usually when I'm doing this, I'm at, like, 14 millimeters
yeah,
just
yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
grandioseness,
Sure.
but this, like
But backing away is really important too, and
Yeah.
because you do just get such a different depth when you use
Mhm.
a closer lens and still are able to achieve this. I'm assuming this is probably a 24.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Yeah,
probably a
but do you even
24.
see like the little like the composition here? You've got the framing of the reflection
Yep,
up
right,
in the
that's
corner.
exactly
I
what I was
love
thinking.
that.
And then it's like just the where the lamp is so
Yeah,
interesting to
it is
me.
very interesting. I wonder if he had done, is that the groom? If there's one, if he were to face forward and look at the camera, would it have shown more of his profile?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in here too?
Uh-huh, that
Yeah.
would have been cool. I don't know if that's how he shot it intentionally or not intentionally.
Well, that was one of the other things that, like, really struck me about Sam's work early on was the fact that if he did do, like, a high contrast with highlights and shadows, is you
Mhm.
could still see all of this information in the shadows.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so it made me really pursue that kind of lifted blacks thing for a
Mm.
good portion of my
And
career.
you can go the other way too
Yeah.
in a single image, and, that could be post-processed or in camera,
Yeah.
but I like to take images like that during the day in multiple ways,
Yeah.
and I feel like he
I
probably
agree.
does the same.
Yeah. If you do follow Sam's Patreon, he does things like share full galleries and everything, so you can see his approach from start to finish, and that was the thing that really helped. I I thought was really cool and really helpful, so I could contextualize how I was doing, um, you know, compared to another, I consider giant in the industry who's very successful with his craft. And seeing how many of the hero shots that he shares, or how many of the creative things versus
Right.
all the other details and everything.
Right,
Um,
because the bulk of your wedding portfolio or your gallery on the receiving end isn't portraits by any means.
right, right.
It's definitely like you've got the whole getting ready process
Yep.
and then the ceremony itself and all of the boring stuff that we do with the
the
family.
more the boring stuff.
Which
Like
sometimes there are ways to take creative approaches to
yeah,
those, and that's reading the dynamics of your
for
family.
sure.
Yeah, which we can honestly maybe we should touch on that in another
Well, there's
podcast.
such a priority, it's like because like that's the stuff that gets on grandma's wall,
For sure.
and so it's like being still a massive part of what we prioritize
Well,
and making.
historically, you have to think about it too. Like those portraits
Mhm.
that are handed down for years and years and years,
Are usually the family photos, not the
the bride and
creative.
groom
Right,
or anything creative. Well, they didn't have time to do anything creative because you
right.
had to wait for those long exposures of, all, well, that's literally historically on all
Oh
photography
yeah, right. Where
senses.
it's like you
Yeah.
have to look straight at it, and you have to have like the
Yes, you
pissed off
cannot
face.
move. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's funny.
Hmm.
Well, it's like stuff like this. It's his groomsman shot, and it's just straightforward. It looks like he was doing either tilt shift or like lens, not chimping. What was free lensing is what he
Yeah,
was calling it. That just feels like a solid, candid moment,
for sure.
and it's like,
Oh, this is gorgeous.
I know, man. It's like
Wow.
perfect light and go to another country, and yeah,
Mhm.
of
Yeah,
course, super great.
well,
Yeah.
working with, like, really lovely bride and groom. This is cool.
Dude, and this is the technical stuff is really what gets me with Sam, man.
I
And
mean, I have no idea how you get this.
okay, I know.
If you subscribe to his
I have
Patreon.
subscribed to his Patreon. And I don't know if this is something he got from Jeff Newsom, another photographer, or if like he saw Jeff doing it and he did it himself, or if he did it first. I don't know. Um, but It's the triple exposure, and you can tell from, like, the fact that we can see on the corner of this wall,
Mhm,
there's a little bit of blue as well, but it's, like, basically if you take the 3 photos and then you layer them on top of each other in Photoshop and then, like, CMYK or RGB them,
mhm.
um, if you RGB them and then you stack them on top of each other, you see the differences in the photos in the different colors.
Okay.
Instead of like, and there's a way to do this in camera, and he has a breakdown on his Patreon, but where he literally puts a green, a red, and a blue, like
I
gel.
think this is the way that I've seen it.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes
that
sense.
that's the more involved way up front, and it's a little easier to do it
I feel
later.
like I watched some photographer do that or, like, some kind of
Right.
demonstration. I've seen it on, like, Instagram or
But then you
something.
need a tripod if you do that.
Right.
And it's like clearly he wasn't using a tripod here. And the beauty of doing it like freehand is you can like just have the subject move and then you can click, 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 and then you can move on.
And there's no like, you don't have to double exposure in camera. There's no external lighting.
Nope.
And so basically the groom just is like, 1, 2, 3, walked away.
Yeah.
But what was the actual background here? Is this like a stairway
It looks like a
maybe?
stairway,
Yeah, okay.
which I love. I love stuff like
And
that.
then I'm just curious on that one too.
Yeah.
Like, is it also separating the surrounding areas or
I don't know.
I mean,
If
to me, this is like a quite literal work of art. Like you would
yes.
hang something like that on your
Yes.
wall.
I'm all
And
about it.
if I were to hang like my wedding photos, which I don't have because I'm not
Yet,
married.
yet.
I'm not married. There's not even a prospect right now. we, yet, as in like nowhere near. Anyway, we can do a staged one. That's
A
fine.
stage wedding. Yeah.
Very well. I'll be in a styled wedding. Here we go. But I would hang this in like a collage form
Mhm.
because I mean, it's just like the colors. Yeah,
Yeah, this would be on my wall
yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Um,
And then something creative with the bride.
yeah, and this is another great example, super simple, so he must have found the
Probably
light
the
source.
first dance or
Yeah.
something,
Oh, yeah.
I would
Good
assume.
good
Yeah.
first la good first dance photo, dude.
Yeah.
Unless it's not, and it's just later and finding
Either
the light
way,
sources,
yeah.
it's still great.
Love
Um,
that.
brilliant creativity, use of, like I feel that's more and more common, it's
Yeah.
like either mirrors or cell phone surfaces,
Yep.
depending on what you keep in your bag,
So
and this, so
fun.
good.
I love
So good.
that.
Such a vi it's like every now and again you come across a photo that you're like, it's outside of what you can carry in your bag,
Yeah.
and you're like,
And it's
"Oh."
probably unique to their day. There's no way they
Right,
didn't have those for their guests. Maybe they did a
right,
Phantom of the Opera theme or
right. Well, that
something.
makes me think they got married in a theater or something.
Possibly, or
Um,
they're theater junkies. Like, I love
right.
when people add, those unique touches to their wedding day, and then
Yep.
you can use them in
Yes.
your portraits. Like, that's fun to
But it's
me.
like on top of using it, like the nuance in their posing is just
Yes.
so good.
Yes.
It's like, and it's the appropriate. So I don't know if you took like a ton of photos and then chose like the exact vibe you want, the
Right.
vibiest of all of
Or
them.
maybe this is just who they are, and
Right.
either way, I'm all about it.
Right.
Kinda reminds me of that one photo that I have of my friends that were sitting there, and they did the very, like, 90s pose. Do you know what I'm talking
Oh
about? Where
no,
they're
I don't
sitting, like,
remember that.
back to back, and with, like,
No.
the cowboy boots. You commented on it and said that has to go in the portfolio.
Oh, is that all? Was that on your Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, we put it in our website.
Oh
There's, like,
shoot,
a tiger
it's on
behind
the
them
website.
that's painted.
Oh, the tiger one. Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like that was all them, like, they wanted to do that
That's
pose.
great.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So, like, this could be who they are.
Well, I had the thought to actually in the future, like business stuff happening here.
Hey.
It's where we have like our engagement stuff, but then when in the packet that we send to couples who just book us for the engagement, like, hey, we love doing things like the park or the beach or whatever, sort
Right,
of
but
like standard
also
things.
tell us who you
Right,
are.
tell us who you are, and here's some things that we would like to do if you happen to have a connection or this is relates to you in some way. It's
Yes.
like a session in an airport, or
Oh,
a
yeah.
session in a commercial kitchen,
Oh, yeah.
or a session in a water treatment plant with pipes and
I
everything
will
everywhere.
literally go anywhere. Tell me where you work, and if
Yeah.
it seems very boring, let's make it
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, it's like, yeah, because I did some documentary stuff for another photographer in a water treatment plant, and I
Mhm.
was going through. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to shoot an engagement session here.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, what a weird spot, but, like, why not?
right. It's like because
Why
then you
not?
have stuff that's completely unique to you in its
Yes.
entirety. This is another great example. Very simple trick. This doesn't look like the prism to me because of the how it's darker on the bottom than it is
Mhm.
on the top. It makes me feel like it's
A
a
piece of glass or something.
cell
Yeah.
phone,
Maybe a cell phone,
like
yeah.
a black mirror. If
Okay, could be.
yeah,
I've
with
used, like, those pocket, what are they called? The compacts, like, the makeup compacts. I've
mhm.
used those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Can
yeah.
use all kinds anything reflective.
And this is another great, just easy, like not so much easy, but just like simple
Yeah.
way to bring a completely unique thing into a gallery on the wedding
And the
day.
framing here too is absolutely lovely.
Yeah, wrap a leaf, everybody.
There you go.
And then just good
This
old
almost
standard
looks like
skyline.
Wilmington, but I know it's not. Is it
Yeah.
DC?
I would guess
Oh, it's
DC.
definitely it's way too big.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's way more urban.
yeah.
Um,
Could be
s
Philly.
dude, I don't know which, library this is. I've seen it in a lot of people's portfolios. Um,
Um,
I would love to shoot here. So, so much.
why I think I know it's either DC or Philly.
It's so absolutely
I
incredible.
think it's DC.
Yeah, it's oh, I have a photo similar to this, but I like the fact that it looks like it's a mirror on a thing.
And then it almost looks like bubbled, like it's playing tricks on your
Right.
eyes.
It's like this little thing right here.
Uh-huh. It
Yeah.
looks like there's like a bubble, like almost like a bubble or like a water droplet like on
Yeah.
a leaf and
Yeah.
then they're in it.
It looks so and I love the way, like, the texture is rendered in the out of focusy,
Right.
red
I mean, I
surface.
have no idea what the red surface is.
But it
It
looks
could be
beautiful
anything.
because the
This is,
texture.
again, like something I would hang on my wall as a piece of art
Yep.
because it is a standard portrait still
Mhm.
within there, you know? So, what an interesting concept. Love
Yeah.
that this is just the reflection
Yep.
because you often see where it's both.
Mhm.
And, obviously you can tell the difference, but this is such a clear reflection. It looks like a painting.
Mhm.
And I like how he included the very bottom where you can see like the sidewalk.
Yep.
So you can still tell
Oh,
that it's
wow.
not
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
an effect
Yeah.
that's done in Photoshop or something. Like, no, it's legitimately a
Well,
puddle.
it's like when you're in that moment and then you creatively make the decision to specifically take the image of like because not only did he say, "Okay, you guys are gonna stay right here," and then want everybody walking around,
Hmm.
he then said, "Oh, I'm gonna take a photo of just the water."
Right.
And even if you just cropped it in, it's like the composition is such where it feels so intentional.
I think it was absolutely intentional.
Yeah.
And the coolest part too is like the posing is also intentional, but
Mhm.
then it's still made to look natural,
Yep.
which is fantastic. Like the bride and groom are obviously a thing. Like to me, this literally looks
Eh,
like a
yeah, and
painting.
they're framed between the two
I
bridesmaids
mean, this
perfectly.
is a
Yeah.
brilliant photo. It's something that might be like overlooked by a non-photographer, but
Yeah.
I think now that we are breaking it down, like I'm obsessed with this one specifically.
Well, it's like I don't even think that we're halfway through his portfolio here, but
No.
it's like, if we're gonna get to other photographers, we should probably
Wrap it up. Is there
wrap that
anything
there.
specific? Wrap it up.
Specific about his
Like,
portfolio
is there
that
something you wanted to touch on before we go anywhere? Like maybe a favorite image, some
it's
conceptually. Is that my husband?
oh, yeah, George Clooney? I
Yes.
told you the wedding's coming up soon,
Oh
dude.
my goodness. Shout out. Can we collaborate with him on
Well,
Instagram?
this was one of the things that I think drew a lot of people to his portfolio is the fact that he worked for, I think it was a press club of some sort,
Look
and then
at
but
this.
having,
Yeah.
famous people coming in and out, and then taking the opportunity as the official photographer to be very official and bring them in for a quick portrait, and then also having the breakdowns on his blog. I would read them, and that's what got my attention on him early on. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant, kind of taking triple exposure to do Brennizer method to make his full frame look like a medium format camera,
Yeah.
with this exaggerated bokeh and then using unique. Like this guy, he had a I don't know, like he was crooked, but he put him in front of a pillar and then framed it for his being straightness, and so the pillar looks crooked, but the guy's crooked.
Oh.
Yeah, and he talks about that in the breakdown.
Wait, I love that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
wouldn't know that from the
Right,
image.
exactly.
I need that because I have scoliosis.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not that crooked
I'm
though.
pretty crooked.
Um,
I'd be at least 3 inches taller.
yeah.
Wait, go down. I like that black and white, not black and white image, but can we just look at this? Like, I feel like we could end on this because this is
Yes.
such a great representation of his versatility,
Mhm.
the posing, the I don't think there's any specific double exposures here, but almost in a way kind of reflects like what one would be. The dynamics here, I mean, we've got engagements, we've got weddings. Bottom right is just stunning. My eye goes right to it. And then the contrast right next to it with the couple laying on the ground. Kind of like a puzzle
That's
piece, like,
amazing.
the leading lines in the composition there are fantastic, the coloring of those green doors on the top right,
That's great. I love that
that
one.
is such a pretty color. I mean, all 6 of these images are fantastic.
Well, what's funny is, I know he's gotten the criticism before and he's called it out, where it's like somebody says, "Hey, can you take any photo where the bride and groom are not tiny in the bottom frame?" And I do this a lot too, because I think it really lends itself to the hero shot.
Yeah,
But it's like his response to that was he took them tiny and put them on the top.
I love that so
Yeah, yeah,
much.
yeah. Which
Mhm.
I thought was
Did he
great.
just, like, turn it upside down, or what did he do?
No, he didn't try. I don't remember how he did it, but
Yeah,
I thought it was brilliant.
hilarious.
But
If
he
you're
breaks.
curious, go on his Instagram or something,
Yeah,
yeah.
but he breaks all of this up with this amazing laying down framed with these whatever these are.
Mhm.
That's
And
it
on
almost
on a sidewalk or something.
yeah. It also feels like for Woody
So
Steve.
even if you were to scroll down just ever so slightly, something I learned in school, it went away, but that's fine. You just saw
Oh,
George Clooney up on the screen.
we
That's
did.
a cool image.
Yes, a
Yeah.
fantastic
If you were to
image.
break down what we see on the screen right now, you've got the wide environmental shot, which is made to get like show your environment, show where you are. You can even go wider than that,
Mhm.
top left, like with the trees.
Oh, like right here.
Right.
Okay.
So just like the contrast of things. And then you
Yeah.
have something called like a tight expressive face,
Hmm.
right? So you want to find like an expression in a face and really get close in, whether it's like a tear in the eye
In
or
George Clooney
something.
here,
Yeah, like
or
George
yeah,
Clooney. I'm just
solid.
saying, like, if you were to look at these images
Like this
represented
is a
here,
good
it's a good,
collection.
solid collection, right? So, and then obviously the bulk of your whatever you're capturing is typically like a medium photo. So anything that's like, chest up or like a well framed image. So the general concept is you want tight expressive faces, details, which we don't see here, but that for a wedding
Right.
would be like the rings and stuff.
Well,
And then
especially
the
if we're
wide
on,
shots.
yeah, especially if we're doing like the front facing images of a blog post. It's
Yeah.
like you don't necessarily want to put details up there. You want to put the hero shots.
Right, right, but you don't wanna go so consistent where all of your blog posts look
Or
exactly the
tiny people in the
same.
middle. Yeah.
Right, and then people are uninterested on clicking them. Like, I'm still interested in seeing each individual gallery
Same.
here for different reasons.
Especially this one.
Yes, I really wanna click it. We
Yeah,
might have
that's
to after we
the hand on her chest, man. It's just like
Mm.
the plate.
And
Like
I can just tell wherever they are
I
is an
can't,
eclectic location.
I can't do it because I'm not a beautiful woman. But it's like that hand
Me
placement.
either, 'cause I'm a man. Hold on, let me try with my awkwardness. What do we do?
um, but yeah, no, that's solid. Sam,
We love
we
you.
love you. You're a fantastic
We will
photographer.
continue stalking you.
Yep.
And Michael specifically, he probably already knows your home address, last four of the social.
I'm not gonna comment on those things.
Oh my goodness, watch out. Make sure you track your identity online.
Sam, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, no, this was really fun, and I'm excited about talking about more photographers.
Yeah, and I can't
Here
wait to see
shortly.
the reaction of other people and when they hopefully he gains some new followers. Not that we bring in that much traction, but you never know.
Yeah,
Yeah, so follow Sam, DC area.
DC area, DC
We'll, I
Maryland.
guess, link all of his stuff below.
Oh yeah, actually, that's a good idea. I'll put all of his contact stuff here, and then as we shoop, there'll be like all of our contact stuff now,
There you
so
go.
you can figure out who the heck we are.
Follow the links below.
Yeah.
The link to his Patreon as well.
Yes.
Gotta,
Yeah.
we gotta sum it up with that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So because okay, well, continuing the plug, his Patreon, I don't think has an equal, and maybe it does in the photography world. It's like, but I haven't looked at too many Patreons, so I wouldn't be able to comment. But the fact that he puts so much of his stuff, like I think he even put like all of his earnings, like profit and loss sheet on there from like 3 or 4 years ago.
So he goes like full blown like legalities and yeah.
Yeah, he puts his
just being a
contract up
photographer,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, like if
Because there's so many elements to the photographer world that we don't always think about. It's not just art. There's like if you're going to use this as your profession, your full-time job, like there's so much that goes into it. So
yeah, and
that's
if you,
awesome
and if
that
you're
he shares
starting
that.
and you're like dropping, I don't know what tier it is, whether it's $10 a month, 15, 20, I don't remember what his tier system is. But if you do all of that and then you get access to like his contract and then you can adjust it for yours, like the fact that he's offering that, I'm not familiar with any other photographer doing that. And I'm sure there are, but it's so helpful.
Right, exactly.
So helpful.
Yep.
That concludes this episode of the Vibrant Podcast Inspiration Edition.
Inspiration edition.
I do feel like we should come up with a catchphrase. Are we recording? Yes, we are. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Throw that in. That's the intro, ladies and
Yeah, all the-
gentlemen.
all
Wait,
the
so when you
voice.
sip to be like, what do we want it to be like?
Yeah. Hold on, I didn't do it right. Let me do it again.
Okay, very well. Oh, that's the stuff. H2O.
Caffeine. I normally inject it, but you know.
I mean, that would be like an IV for me.